Global tensions are spiking as Russia unveils an automatic nuclear system designed to act without any human command. This Cold War-era machine, feared for decades, is back in the spotlight and reigniting fears of a sudden nuclear showdown. Our first chapter dives into the deadliest secret of Russia's arsenal, the Dead Hand. We'll break down how the system works, its Soviet origins, and why it's being mentioned again in recent threats against the United States. Chapter 2 zooms out to the global nuclear balance. How many warheads does each superpower hold today? Russia, the US, and China compete for the top spot, while emerging nations quietly expand their stockpiles. Chapter 3 shifts to North Korea's growing threat. Its nuclear program is now irreversible, defying the UN Security Council and raising the risk of multiple simultaneous flashpoints around the globe. Chapter 5 covers Ukraine's bold drone strikes against Russian bases, a turning point in the war that triggered devastating retaliations in the Black Sea and Crimea. Finally, Chapter 6 reveals the death of a Brazilian fighter on the Ukrainian front and Russia's new bet, Oreshnik hypersonic missiles, a mix of grief and cutting-edge technology that proves this war is far from over. Now, we begin the story of the Dead Hand, a Soviet-era weapon designed to guarantee an automatic counter-strike if the central command was wiped out. A silent system, but one capable of turning any provocation into catastrophe. Trump and Medvedev are ramping up their war of words online, reigniting fears this deadly technology could be triggered at any moment. The threat is out in the open now, exposing cracks in global security. So tell me, who do you think could actually cross that red line and trigger global chaos? Is it Donald Trump, who's been picking fights with half the world through massive tariffs? Is it Putin, who's been threatening nuclear strikes since 2022? Or maybe the European Union, now spiraling in its own violent crisis because of this war? Just a reminder, this report is based on news from Sky News, The New York Times, BBC, The Guardian, Al Jazeera, Sputnik, RT News, and Telegram. But before we get into the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Your subscription means a lot and helps you stay updated on every story about the raging nations. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up to help this project grow even more. The Dead Hand, officially called the Perimeter, was created in 1985. Its purpose? Automatically launch nuclear missiles if Soviet leadership was wiped out by a surprise enemy strike. Even after the Soviet Union collapsed, the system stayed in Russia. Officials hint it's still active, now upgraded with modern missile tech and advanced radar, keeping its deadly edge intact. The system uses sensors to detect radiation, seismic blasts, and pressure shifts. If a nuclear detonation is confirmed, it takes control and fires back. No human orders required. Command missiles, buried deep in reinforced silos, would launch first. They'd send radio signals across Russia's surviving arsenal, activating warheads on submarines and in silos nationwide. Valery Yarenich, a former Soviet officer, revealed the Perimeter was designed to remove pressure from high-ranking commanders and eliminate human error at the critical moment of nuclear retaliation. The system's origins trace back to tensions with Ronald Reagan. After learning about America's Strategic Defense Initiative, the Soviet Union created a weapon to guarantee mutual destruction even after a surprise strike. Once activated, the system would sleep until reawakened by an officer. From that point, it constantly scanned for attack indicators, and if confirmed, it would unleash the entire arsenal. Over the decades, the Perimeter has been upgraded. Russian military sources claim it now includes more powerful intercontinental missiles and communications hardened against electromagnetic pulses. Unlike the United States, where final nuclear decisions remain in human hands, Russia built a mechanism that bypasses human control once activated, heightening fears of an automatic doomsday response. This system represents the peak of nuclear automation. One miscalculation or false alarm could spark unprecedented destruction, keeping the entire planet on permanent high alert. Beyond Russia's doomsday system, the global nuclear balance depends on accurate warhead counts. Russia and the US still hold thousands, followed by China, France, the UK, and rising regional powers. Russia leads with over 5,000 nuclear weapons, nearly 2,000 of them ready for immediate use, a strategic advantage that deters almost any Western threat. The United States is right behind, with a similar arsenal in both volume and power. Washington deploys ICBMs, long-range bombers, and submarine-launched warheads stationed worldwide. China is racing to expand its own stockpile. Estimates point to about 500 warheads and 100 intercontinental ballistic missiles, a number expected to double by decade's end, shifting the global balance of power. France and the UK maintain smaller but still potent arsenals. Their nuclear submarines remain on constant patrol, ready to respond instantly to any provocation. India and Pakistan's long-standing rivalry is fueled by their growing nuclear programs. The Kashmir dispute keeps South Asia on edge, where even a small incident could have global repercussions. Israel, though never officially confirming it, is widely believed to possess enough nuclear weapons to deter regional threats and maintain an edge over Middle Eastern adversaries. North Korea, officially recognized as a nuclear power since 2022, has dozens of warheads. Its relentless testing defies international resolutions and heightens tensions with South Korea, Japan, and the US. Iran remains under intense international watch. Despite the 2015 deal limiting uranium enrichment, reports suggest secret efforts to retain the ability to quickly develop nuclear weapons. Decades of negotiations have barely dented global disarmament efforts. The UN's frustration grows as nations modernize arsenals and quietly push new weapons technology forward. While the world's biggest powers keep building up, North Korea flaunts its advances. Kim Jong-un shows off intercontinental missiles that could hit the US, doubling down on his defiant rhetoric. The 2022 law declaring the country an irreversible nuclear power killed any talk of disarmament. For Pyongyang, the arsenal is a non-negotiable guarantee of survival. With every test, North Korea proves greater range and precision. The international response? More sanctions, but they barely dent the regime's military drive. US allies in Asia, like South Korea and Japan, are stepping up military drills and missile defense systems, bracing for whatever Pyongyang might do next. China and Russia may criticize Western moves, but even they view North Korea's arsenal with caution. Neither wants a nuclear flashpoint right on their doorstep. Isolation hasn't slowed Pyongyang down. Its closed economy and total internal control allow near-total focus on military development. Experts warn that even a smaller North Korean stockpile could devastate Asian capitals, enough to force direct talks with major powers. The risk of miscalculation is constant. Missile launches confuse radar systems, raising the chance of instant retaliation and keeping Washington and Seoul on edge every time Pyongyang tests at night. Multiple nuclear arsenals around the globe create an unstable web of deterrence. One bad signal or misread attack could trigger a worldwide chain reaction. With tensions rising, analysts warn this decade could bring the biggest arms buildup since the Cold War, permanently changing the global balance of power. Ukrainian drone strikes in Crimea have shattered Russia's air superiority. The meticulously planned operation wiped out fighter jets in Saki and blew up key weapons depots critical to Moscow's logistics. 5 Russian aircraft were destroyed, including a Su-30SM worth millions. The strategic blow weakened Russia's immediate air response in the Black Sea. The attack blindsided Russian defenses, which failed to intercept all the drones. Footage of the wreckage spread online, exposing gaps in detection and air defense. Ukrainian officials hailed the strike as proof that Crimea remains vulnerable, even after years of Russian fortifications. Moscow's retaliation came fast and hit hard. Moments later, Russian forces unleashed massive bombings on Kyiv and other Ukrainian cities. The explosions marked a rare escalation, echoing the war's darkest early days. In southern Russia, Ukrainian drones struck fuel depots in Sochi. Fires raged for hours, forcing the local airport to shut down and leaving civilians on edge. The Kremlin urged restraint after the US deployed 2 nuclear submarines to strategic regions. Trump insisted the move was a direct response to Russian nuclear threats. Dmitry Medvedev, former Russian president and Putin ally, blasted Trump's ultimatums as steps toward direct war. The rhetoric dredged up grim Cold War memories. Meanwhile, Ukrainian forces keep pressing simultaneous offensives inside Russian territory, a strategy meant to stretch Moscow thin and open cracks along the Eastern Front. With strikes growing bolder by the day, expectations of a larger showdown are rising fast. If this escalation continues, the war could cross borders and drag major powers into open conflict. Amid all this chaos, news breaks. A Brazilian fighter has been killed on the Ukrainian front. João Victor de Brito Valim, just 23, died fighting alongside Ukrainian forces against Russia. Born in São José dos Campos, João Victor left the Brazilian army in 2024 and volunteered for the war. His death adds to the growing list of Brazilians killed in Europe's deadliest conflict in decades. His family waits for the body to be brought home. Friends remember him as idealistic and brave, someone who saw this war as a mission of honor and a fight for freedom. Brazil's foreign ministry confirms 9 Brazilians have died so far, with 17 more still missing, the highest combat losses for Brazil since World War II. Meanwhile, new Russian airstrikes have killed and wounded dozens across Ukraine. Kyiv responded with drone attacks hitting refineries and military depots deep inside Russia. Explosions rocked Kyiv and other cities near the front lines. Witnesses described nights lit by missile trails and sirens blaring for hours on end. Donald Trump gave Moscow an ultimatum: end the war by August 8th, or face massive new tariffs and expanded sanctions targeting Russia and its allies. Trump's deadline cranked tensions with Vladimir Putin to the max. Analysts warn this brinkmanship pushes the world closer to an escalation not seen since the Cold War. Russia fired back with fresh threats, unveiling images of its Oreshnik hypersonic missiles primed for launch, a clear signal it won't bow to US pressure. In the Black Sea, Russian warships were repositioned to reinforce coastal defenses and prep for possible retaliation. The message? This conflict could heat up fast. Putin declared ceasefire hopes unrealistic. Russia will keep advancing in Ukraine. The announcement shattered peace talks and showed the Kremlin's readiness to prolong the fight. At the same time, Moscow confirmed mass production of Oreshnik hypersonic missiles. Unveiled in 2024, these weapons can hit targets at extreme speeds, dodging Western missile defenses. The first batch has already been delivered to Russian forces. Experts say their maneuverability and intercontinental range shift the war's strategic balance. Some of these missiles are headed to Belarus, extending Russia's reach over NATO's borders and tightening its grip on Eastern Europe. Trump hit back with harsher sanctions and slapped 100% tariffs on Russia's trading partners, escalating the economic and military standoff to a new global flashpoint. John Kelly, the US envoy to the UN, confirmed the ultimatum to Putin expires August 8th. If the war drags on, Washington promises tougher action at the Security Council. Putin mocked the threats, calling them theatrical. For the Kremlin, America's moves show impatience and little interest in a deal that respects Russian demands. This fiery rhetoric rekindles Cold War memories. Medvedev's remarks on the dead hand hint that Moscow might use automated retaliation systems if cornered. Military analysts say Russia gained over 600 square kilometers of territory in July alone, its fastest advance since November last year. These victories boost Putin's domestic narrative and undermine efforts for an immediate ceasefire. The outlook? A drawn-out war with a rising risk of nuclear escalation. And now we reach the end of this narrative. The conflict has widened, automated systems are back online, and the countdown on ultimatums is ticking down. The world is watching, torn between fear and anticipation. The human and material toll is staggering. Thousands dead, cities reduced to rubble, and modernized arsenals prove the war is nowhere near over. Peace talks face impossible odds. Global powers are doubling down on military and economic alliances. Washington is tightening sanctions, while Moscow leans harder on Beijing and allied regimes to withstand international pressure. Russian tech advances, mixed with North Korean instability and Middle East tensions, create a world dotted with nuclear flashpoints waiting to ignite. So tell me, who do you think is most likely to cross that red line and trigger total global chaos? Is it Donald Trump picking fights with the entire world through heavy tariffs? Is it Putin threatening nukes since 2022? Or is it the European Union now spiraling into violent crisis because of this war? Thanks so much for sticking around until the end of the video. You're awesome, and I really appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any updates on the raging nations. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up to help this project grow even more.